Hi, and welcome to Game Changer by ConnorsCoaching.com. You can show your support for us if you like what you see by logging into YouTube, liking the video, subscribing, and leaving a comment about what inspired you the most today. That would mean a lot to me. Thank you so much. We are created to inspire through topics of positivity, coaching, personal development, leadership development, emotional intelligence, business to business services, practical neuroscience, workplace engagement, and life hacks, as well as more. We go live every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m., which is where we are right now. And guests join us on the second and fourth Wednesdays of each month. Together, our goal is to get inspired and find the next best version of ourselves. And so let's get inspired. Today, I'm joined by my guest, Sharon Valenti. She's a therapeutic coach. She owns Sharon's Club, Sharon's.club, and isittrue.com. And those links are below in the description for this video. She teaches her clients proven processes to overcome stress, anxiety, frustration, and to help them let go of blame, shame, and to learn to feel whole again. Under her care, her clients get control of every aspect of their lives. So Sharon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a delight to be here. Thank you for that nice intro.
You are welcome. Sharon, tell us about you as a coach. What inspires you the most?
Sure, lots of things inspire me, but most particularly is helping people understand that it's long-held, self-sabotaging beliefs that are actually running their life. And while they feel so real in our mind, they're never true. I lived half of my life, maybe even more than half of my life, in a victim mindset and didn't even realize it was a victim mindset until I learned how to uncover those beliefs, question them, find out they were never true, and wow, such freedom ensued. And I will help as many people that are open, willing, and ready to turn their lives completely around to the one that they deserve, the one that they should be living.
That certainly should perk up the ears of some people out there. Are there any other indicators that people should seek you out and get some help from you? Describe your ideal client.
So my ideal client is anyone who really knows that they deserve a happy life and don't quite know how to find it. They always think it's just for the other person, and that's not true. It is for everybody. If you're in an unhappy relationship and you want a beautiful relationship, if you just want a life that you love and don't have that right now, working with or through me or with the online Sharon's.club, you can get that life. It's not the magic wand. It's not an overnight thing. But if you are sick and tired of feeling sick and tired and sick and tired and sick and tired, then stay tuned, because we're going to go through something that will give you a taste of how that can happen for you.
Yeah, and so just a disclaimer for the audience, we are going to be dealing with some tough emotional subjects today. And I specifically took Sharon's first workshop from her Sharon's Club. And in it, it helps me, it helped me overcome some of my own personal demons that keep popping up for me. There are some heavy emotional subjects that can come up as a result of this work. So just be aware going forward in this episode. I don't want to turn anyone off, but I am going to be pretty vulnerable because we're going to be talking about some real life trauma for me. So Sharon, can you tell our viewers today what it is that I've done to get to this
Yes,
point?
sure. So in Sharon's.club, which is basically you work it out yourself, the very first course in there is called Blueprint for Stress Release. And in the first lesson, I invite you to write a letter to the person that hurt you the most in your life. Now, they will never see this letter. It is just for your eyes only. And that alone gets emotional. In the very first paragraph, you're writing to this person, this is what you did to me. And you just pour it out. This is what you did to me. You called me names, you swore at me, you used me, you abused me, whatever it is for you. In the second paragraph, you're going to write, this is how I felt at the time. And it's usually one simple word at a time. So I felt unloved, unlovable, unwanted, not unnurtured, rejected, whatever comes up for you, how you felt relative to how that person treated you. And then there's more to the letter from there, but Daniel and I are going to cover the first two parts of it in as much as we've already identified this situation that we're going to deal with and the emotion that he decided to work on tonight.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you so much for being a partner, and being a part of that journey for me. Your empathy and your presence as I kind of process some of these more difficult emotions, that really stood out to me. So,
Thank you. And
yeah, so take it away. So you have a homework assignment basically of what to do after you've written this letter, and that's kind of what we're going through today a little bit.
yeah, so at least the first two paragraphs of this letter, there are two additional paragraphs that we're not going to cover today.
Yeah.
So in Daniel's situation, in Daniel's tonight, he was working on a situation that happened when he was 10 or 11 years old, and it was with the grandmother whom he adored at that time. And he had just written this paper, and he was so excited about it. It was creative. He felt good about it. And he's sitting on the hearth in his grandmother's parlor, and he's watching her. She's sitting in her rocking chair reading this paper, and she's smiling, and he's taking that in. And when she gets finished, she spews out all this negativity. You're no good. This is terrible. You'll never be a writer. And that it just completely crushes him in that moment, as only an adult can do, and in this case, a beloved grandmother. And so that, you can imagine, that hit the heart, right? Really strong. And in that moment, Daniel took on the belief that he's worthless. His grandmother made him feel worthless. So we're going to look and see, we're going to look into that. So Daniel, taking your mind's eye, and if it helps you to close your eyes to settle back into that, feel free to do so. See yourself as that little 10-year-old sitting in the hearth, watching your grandmother in her rocking chair, reading your paper. And now she's just said all those horrible things to you. In that moment, can you know 100% for sure that your grandmother made you feel worthless?
It feels that way, but that's a story I think that I'm telling myself.
Just a yes or no here.
Yes. I believe it.
Okay. In that moment when you're believing that she made you feel worthless, what can't you do when you're believing that thought?
Find worth in myself.
Else. What else can't you do? That little 10-year-old you sitting there.
I can't hold on to my dreams. I really wanted to be a writer. I thought writing books would be so fulfilling.
What else can't you do when you're 10 years old, boy, you, when you're believing that you're worthless? She made you feel worthless.
I can't love her. Yeah.
What else can't you do in that moment when you believe that she made you feel worthless?
I can't move. I can't breathe. Um, it feels like I can't live.
How's your body feeling when you believe that she made you feel worthless?
There's this deep, hollow feeling in my stomach, like when the elevator goes down too fast, or you're in a roller coaster where the pit of my stomach has dropped away and my knees hurt, my lungs burn, my eyes burn. I can feel tears forming. And I'm shaking physically shaking.
How are you treating yourself in that moment when you believe that?
I think that I am showing myself a slideshow of all the times I failed. Um, it's a short show because I'm only 11 at the time. I could have a lot longer show now. But I'm
Just that moment. How are you treating yourself?
yeah, I'm telling myself that she's right. I'm finding my mind is coming up blank when I try to say, okay, well, your dream of being an author, your dream of being an author is pointless. What else could you possibly do? I can't think of a single thing in my life that I could possibly do that I would succeed at that point in my life. I'm
So are you treating
Go
her
ahead.
like a friend or like an enemy?
Oh, she's an enemy and so am I. It's like part of my subconscious split off and started becoming my own bully.
And what do you get from holding on to that belief that you're worthless, that she made you feel worthless? What do you get from holding on to that belief?
It gave me limitations. It gave me a fence that I couldn't cross, and it put monsters on the other side of that fence that I couldn't overcome. So it kept me in my safe zone, and um, I don't think that's a very healthy place to stay as an adult.
So what else in that moment, that 10-year-old you, what else do you get from holding on to believing that she made you feel worthless?
I get a reason not to listen to her ever again for hurting me. I get a little bit of a tiny, tiny little bit of rebellion in my heart, but I also get that extra voice telling me that I have limits, that I'm not going to live up to my dreams or my expectations.
Do you get to stay a victim
Absolutely.
when you're believing? Do you
And
get to make her
yeah, she becomes my villain. So it takes all the authority, all of the action away from me. I'm no longer responsible for the way that she made me feel. Yeah,
So how about if we take a minute now, if you're ready, and let's look at that from a different viewpoint. You ready to do that?
absolutely.
So let's look at it in that situation that you made her feel worthless. In that moment, what can you find an example of how you made her feel worthless?
She
Even
became
if
my,
it's just in
yeah,
your thoughts.
she became my villain. So nothing that she ever said going forward was true or meaningful. Um, her words, her vision, her belief in me became worthless.
Interesting to notice that, huh? And how about let's look at it another way. In that moment when she finished reading your paper and said what she did, how could it be true that she didn't make you feel worthless?
Well, I don't know what her intentions were. She may have had the best intentions, And my interpretation of that event, my listening to her and hearing, she didn't use the words worthless. I'm the one who came up with the word worthless. I'm the one who came up with the feelings of despair and of directionlessness.
Okay.
So
So we're going to look at.
yeah. So it's totally in my interpretation of the words that she said. And that little subconscious voice that split off and started telling me that she was right, that's the person who made me feel worthless.
Okay, so we're going to look at that. Let's turn it around to yourself. In that situation, after you took in everything she said, how did you make yourself? I made myself feel worthless when what?
I made myself feel worthless when I believed that giving up was easier than pushing through the criticism. I made myself feel worthless when I gave up my dream to be an author. I made myself feel worthless when I let myself be a victim. I made myself feel worthless by taking an opportunity to look back at my life, find all of my possible failures, and look at them as failures rather than as opportunities to learn and to grow and to be the person that I am today.
I see another, if you let me.
What?
Is it? I see another one, if I may.
Absolutely, please.
Is it possible that you made yourself worthless when you made her opinion greater than your own?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That I was so proud of this writing, and for some reason, that pride shattered and disappeared the moment in which I gave her the authority to tell me that I should, or that she didn't see value in it. I could have still seen value in it, but I decided to give up that that viewpoint.
So, in a way, your grandmother was an innocent. She was just saying what she said. It sounds like you did your own interpreting and created your own sense of worthlessness in that moment. And as an aside, in looking back from where you are today to that time, are you able to see how that sense of worthlessness has shown up at different points in your life until you've
Absolutely.
taken a look and see, yeah, it's not true.
Yeah,
You don't have
absolutely.
to
And
get there.
as a coach, and I'm gonna monologue here for just a second. As a coach, I know that I've done a lot of work around this. And it's one of the reasons why as a show we go live. Because, and I shared this with you earlier, if I had the ability to edit myself, I would edit this video until I looked like Chris Hemsworth and I sounded like Simon Sinek giving his best TED talk. Um, but that's not who I actually am. This is who I actually am. And hiding behind that inauthenticity, not being the most authentic version of myself, is scary because I've been living with that sense of worthlessness and that need for external validation from other people my whole life. And so, and we had kind of talked about this as a coach, I have already started some of the process of working through this trauma when I started your process, but still those raw feelings, those are still with me every day. And they probably will be with me in the future. Being conscious about it, though, means that I can choose not to listen to them anymore.
So I would say, because of the work I do, that questioning those thoughts that come up to find out if they are 100% true or not. And the moment we understand that they've never been true. It's never been the other person that has made us feel that way. It's us. So we begin to take responsibility for what's going on inside of us. And if we get triggered by something outside, rather than react to it, that's the time to just get still for a moment and say, wow, what was just reflected back to me about myself in that moment, and see what that underlying belief was. It's like when people get angry, anger is a form of control, but underneath that anger is poor me, I'm not enoughness belief going on. And I invite your listeners to test that water. I could go up to my husband and say, hey, honey, do you like this top I've got on? He's watching the news and look, yeah, it's nice. And my mind is like, wow, he doesn't like it. You know, he can't even pay attention to me. He doesn't love me. He doesn't love me. Is that true? All he said was yes. He responded, poor guy, he's innocent. And I just attacked him with my thoughts, and I just believed he doesn't love me. I'm unlovable. How insane is that? And as we begin to catch ourselves in that, that's where we shed all those old beliefs. And we know the truth is, I am lovable, my top looks nice, you are the most worthy person I've met in a long while, there's no worthlessness about you. And being authentic, in my eyes, is a much better version of me today and you today. Why would we want to experience inauthenticity? Because then we never know who we're really talking to or who we're really dealing with. Yes?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, another way of looking at it is you're a lighthouse. And if you're not shining your light, those ships are going to crash on your shores. They're not going to realize that they've crossed the boundary because you're not shining your light the brightest that you could possibly shine it. And we want those ships to arrive safely on our shores. We don't want them to crash. We don't want them to hit the rocks, as it were. But so often when we're not our authentic selves, we hide our light. We hide the truest version of ourselves, and those ships get lost, and they crash in the ocean, they sink, and lives are lost, and it's not pleasant. So, yeah.
Definitely. And when we're children, we learn a lot of behaviors. So we're basically taught to look outside of ourselves for appreciation, for approval, for love. And that keeps us in a lack mindset, because if we're not getting it from outside, we're constantly hungering for it. The truth is, the only person we need to approve of is ourselves. That's it, period. We don't need anybody outside of us. And if we're believing we do, then there's a lot more beliefs that you've got going on about yourself that's causing you to even believe that you need your significant other, your boss, your teacher, whoever it is. You don't need their approval in order for you to be an okay human being. If they're not giving it, that's their business. Stay in your own lane. There's, I talked to you about, there's three kinds of business. There's your business, there's the divine's business, and there's my business. And the only time you ever start to suffer is when you get out of your business, even if it's just in your head. What were they thinking with that outfit today? Whose business is it what they're wearing? It's raining outside. Forget the weather. Just be here in your own business. And there's no problem there. Every time you get upset, it's because you're out in somebody else's business, the world's business, this person, that person, and you can bring yourself right back.
Well, this has certainly been an eye opener. So for your potential clients, what are their next steps for them exploring this?
So I would say it's time dependent and probably financially dependent. If you're disciplined enough and time is a constraint for you to do self-study, I invite you to go and sign up on Sharon's.club, www.sharons.club. There are courses in there that I add to keep you on the path. And as I mentioned, the signature course is Blueprint for Stress Release. And these are something you have to fall back on time and time and time and time again until you work through all the beliefs that are going to show up in that first letter, which is totally eye-opening, by the way, and emotional because you're writing it to the person that hurt you the most. But once you have these tools under your belt and something triggers you, you just go back and you do the same process over and over. Then the other courses are your support force throughout it. And as we continue to grow, I will start hosting a once a week live where different people can step up and be facilitated if you're really stuck on something. And just like what we did with Daniel here today, and get a feel, you could be doing your own process at the same time working on your own issue. Or you can go out to isittrue.com, and I offer individual coaching sessions and walk you through this same process. I don't let you go into story. We keep only to the facts, and we're looking for the truth. That's all. I've noticed that anytime somebody says but or because, they're getting ready to go into a story, and I bring you back right away. So we stick with the facts.
Yeah, I can testify to that. You don't let me go off into my own story. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
And
all
that's
it is.
important too when you're going through this. When you're going through this, having that third person observer makes it safe.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Sharon, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for letting me go through the first of your programs at Sharon's.club. To my audience, thank you so much for watching. I hope that this inspired you today. If it did, take a moment to sign into YouTube, like the video, and comment with what inspired you the most. We'd really appreciate it, and it would really help us grow. Next week, we're going to be back here. We're going to talk about leadership development for new leaders as well as incidental leaders, because not everyone decides that they want to be a manager. Some of us decide we want to be authors, and we don't have a plan for leadership development. We're going to talk about making that plan next week. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and we will see you